Has your dream taken you to the kind of home you want to live in? With your family? Are you worried about the kind of neighborhood to bring your children up? Does the influence of society and environment matter to you and your family? Are you worried about your health, your early morning joggings, sound of the birds? Does accessibility contribute to your daily activities? If yes, Universal Properties has homes, lands on our estates, property management, and construction, just at the right spots for the most reasonable offer. Our land locations are at Sukuta, Jabang, Brikama Jamisa, Kitty Highway, Sanyang, and Gunjur, on both mortgage and cash payment.
Established far back in 2009, and we are into housing, developing, rents, sales. We are here to make housing affordable, accessible for every Gambian.
Universal Properties, property, the solution.
Hello viewers, you're watching the Youth Dialogue and I am your host, Jana Basonko. It's always good to be back, and like I mentioned on my social media platforms that this week we are taking a look at Youth of the Month, and we, of course, this is how we do it every month. We just post it on social media and ask you guys to actually nominate the person that you want to see on Youth Dialogue as our Youth of the Month. We saw a lot of nominations, and this is an opportunity for me to make it quite clear about how we do our selection. So as you can, if you go through our social media page on Facebook, you would realize that few people have been nominated by a lot of people a lot of times, but they are not Youth of the Month. We do not determine Youth of the Month based on the number of nominations that the person has. Because normally, when the nominations have been done, we sit down as a sort of a committee to actually check it out and decide on who we should have as our Youth of the Month. I think it is quite important for us to make that clear. The number of nominations that you have on our social media as Youth of the Month does not determine you being the Youth of the Month of QTV Youth Dialogue. But nevertheless, whenever we post it off, you guys can nominate as much as you want, but we will get to make the final decision, because this is not sort of a popularity contest, but it's based on merit. So I just want to make that quite clear. And our Youth of the Month for this month is Lamin Sonko, and I know most of you out there know him, because whenever we have events, we see Lamin Sonko, doing sign language interpretation for the individuals that suffer from hard of hearing. We see him on the CRC, we see him on different platforms. We even see him willingly volunteer to do sign language on social media. So that is why we will take a look at his biography. After taking a look at that, the conversation will start with Lamin to actually know his journey and what really motivated him to venture into such a field that is not ventured into by a lot of young people. Let's take a look at that.
Lamin D. Sonko was born in 1988 in a village in Nyumi called Berending. He attended Serekunda Primary School, then to Berending Junior School, and then proceeded to Esau Senior Secondary School and sat for his WASCE exam in 2009. He pursued an ICT course at the Banjul Institute of Professional Studies, BIPS. Due to his passion for working with deaf people, he then pursued a sign language interpretation course at the Gambia Association for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, GADHOH, in collaboration with VSO in 2011. Upon completion of the sign language interpreter course, he was automatically employed by the Deaf Association as a sign language interpreter from 2013 up to the present time. He was employed by the Constitutional Review Commission as a sign language interpreter on the 15th of October 2018, a position he holds up to this moment. He has attended several leadership and sign language interpreter trainings in the following countries: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Niger, and Senegal. Currently, he is the Vice Chairman and the Coordinator of the Association of Sign Language Interpreters of the Gambia, ASLI-G.
Welcome back, viewers. Like I said before the break, that was the biography of Lamin Sonko, and he's our Youth of the Month for this month. Thank you so much, Lamin, and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Geneva.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to be the Youth of the Month. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome. I think for when it comes to your nomination, it was just 2 people. But like I said before, it's based on merit. We took a look at your work. Lamin, you're all the time up on social media, making sure that the newspapers are interpreted for all these individuals that suffer from hard of hearing. And sign language interpretation was not something that was in existence at the time. This is something that we'll also talk about. But before we go deep into the conversation, Lamin, I know that taking a look at your biography, ICT, you did a course at ICT. That was your first step when it comes to getting into the professional life or getting into your career. But at some point you decided that sign language interpretation is your passion. What motivated that?
Yeah, actually, thank you very much for nominating me for the Youth of the Month. This is something that really pleased me. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. The reason why I became a sign language interpreter, I can say a person drives me to be a sign language interpreter. I grew up with this young guy when we were young, Katim Jawla. He's a deaf person. He's a friend of mine. We grew up together. We live not far from each other. And then, you know, while I was in a hearing school, he was in a deaf school. So we grew up together. And then, you know, he taught me some basic signs, and I mastered the alphabet before I completed my basic education. I also mastered the numbers from 1 to trillion. I also know some of the basic signs, you know. And then, you know, I even sometimes volunteered for him, even before I chose to train sign language interpreting as a profession.
Yeah.
I volunteered to interpret for him when he's having family meetings.
Okay.
And then when he wanted to say something to his mother. And sometimes when deaf people have picnics, you know, he would invite me. I also do my contribution.
Amazing.
I joined yeah. So this is the reason why I really thought to myself and then said, you know, why not work for deaf people? So after completing my ICT course, and then I decided to join the sign language interpreting training after seeing the advert on the newspaper, and then, you know, I joined the training. So initially, we were like 20-something people, and then after we started training with 11 people.
Wow.
So as the training passes by, you know, there is a limit, or there is a score line.
Yeah.
So if you fall below, so you are not taking to the next level.
Okay.
So I decided to be. I was lucky to be.
Yes.
The 3 finalists who were employed by the Deaf Association.
Amazing.
So upon completion of my training, I was automatically employed by the Deaf Association as a sign language interpreter.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can say Katim really
motivated
me.
And this
to be a
means
sign
that
language
you
interpreter.
actually learn these things at a household level, just the 2 of you being friends.
Yeah. Before I even started learning sign language interpreting profession, that is the pure GSL and also the interpreting skill. So I learned this thing because I had the interest, I had the I had loved the language even when I was young.
Okay.
So I know the alphabet from A to Z, you know. So, you know, that is alphabet from A to Z.
Yeah.
So you have A, B, C, D, E, F. So I think maybe we will have time to go.
Okay, so that is A.
So this is A.
Okay.
This is B.
Okay.
This is C.
Yeah.
D, E,
This
F,
is amazing.
G, H, I, J, up to Z.
Yeah, okay.
So we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So up to trillion.
Okay,
so
and you got to learn this.
Yeah, I got to learn this even before I started the
amazing.
interpreting training in proper.
Okay, so now let's talk about what it takes to actually learn sign language, because I know it's not really easy.
Yes.
I know you will say but looking at it, I think that there's something that you need to have in you. There are certain skills you need to have in you to be able to actually do it and get to pass that particular exam. So just give us tips. What does it take? Because maybe someone out there who was in your shoe at the time that you met Katem wanted to actually do this, but does not like have the opportunity or does not really have the guidance. So if somebody really wants to learn this, what are some of the tips?
Yeah, some of the things could be you first need to have the love of learning sign language, the love in learning sign language, and then you need to also spend more time with deaf people because the language is theirs, and then when you spend more time with them, and so you got to know more grammars, more grammar of sign language, and also I think you need to have the love.
Yes.
Of wanting to learn sign language, and also trying to make more deaf friends.
Okay.
You need to make of deaf friends. We have some deaf centers around in the Greater Banjul area.
Yeah.
So you need to be visiting these deaf centers and also be visiting deaf association.
Yeah.
So we had manuals at the deaf association from volume 1 to volume 4, and of recent of it I headed. We now translated the manuals into video into video because now we are in the 21st century. Now people are shifting, learning from the old from the one that we were using before to the new way of learning. That is learning by seeing the movement of signs, in the video.
Okay.
So you really need to. It's not that difficult.
Okay.
So you really need to have the love, that I want to learn sign language.
What about patience?
Huh?
Patience.
Yeah. You need to also have patience because it's not easy, to interpret language from one culture to another because we know sign language syntax is different from English language syntax, and then so too Mandinka as well, and our local languages. So it's not easy. So you definitely need to have patience in order to do this thing. It's not that easy. So and then that's it. It's not that difficult because we have other sign language interpreters that are also coming up. Of which I'm even I'm mentoring. People like Ibrahim Acham and Lamin Fofana. They're also doing very good. So it's not that difficult. It's just to have the love or you have the commitment. I just want to learn sign language. So it's possible. It's not that difficult.
So before we move
on, also there is a difference between wanting to how to call it. Being able to sign a bit and being able to interpret. So you can choose to just learn sign language, just to be chatting with your friends.
But being an interpreter is a whole different thing.
Yeah. You need to go to the next level. You have to, before you become an interpreter.
I think that is quite clear.
Yeah.
But I think just being able to sign is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that you can communicate with them and then I don't know, but are you, as an organization, are you really working towards maybe kind of introducing this to our education system? Like, I mean, people who are not deaf, getting to get them learn some of these things, just the basic ones to be able to communicate. Are you working towards that as an organization?
We're working toward that as an association. The Deaf Association, GADO, that's the Gambia Association of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, in collaboration with the Interpret Association, that's Ashley G. We 3 years ago, we were working with NACA, the National Accreditation Institute, NACA. We worked with them in collaboration with St. John's School for the Deaf. We also worked together with St. John's School for the Deaf. That's the first deaf school that we have in the Gambia. So, we developed a curriculum on sign language.
Amazing.
So this is the first time Gambia is having a standard curriculum on sign language, but it's in draft form. It's not yet finalized. So, but NACA is taking the lead. We've drafted everything. And now the curriculum is with.
Which means if that is finalized, what is going to happen?
So when it is finalized, so NACA is going to take the lead. So it's going to be taught in. So it's going to be taught in schools. So it's going to be introduced in schools, in primary schools, and also it's also going to be mandatory. Like if you go to Gambia College or GTTI or any other institution or the University of the Gambia,
you have
so
to know the basics.
If you don't know the basic, you won't be giving certificate. So this is something that NACA will be taking a lead, and now we're happy that the government of the Gambia is showing some interest in
disability.
So this is about 3 years ago.
Amazing. This is amazing. I think it doesn't mean that we have to go deep, but just knowing the basics, I think it's really important. I hosted Binta Baji, you were actually here. Imagine if I was able to cite a little bit, then it would have been easy.
It would have been easier
I'm just
for you
saying
to do
this
it,
to just give you guys an example of how you don't know who you're going to meet.
Definitely.
And what that person is suffering from. So sometimes we have to work on adjusting to be able to accommodate everybody. So I think that is very important. But before we move on to the next thing, there's this debate when it comes to deaf and hard of hearing. People say you should not say, because this is a question that I asked the Binta, but I just need a second opinion. Binta said it's okay to be called deaf. But sometimes there's this debate when it comes to certain activists who say you're not supposed to say this person is deaf, you're supposed to say hard of hearing. So I don't know.
Yeah,
which is which?
Thank you very much. First of all, deaf people don't want to be called dumb, deaf and dumb.
Okay.
They don't want to be called dumb.
Dumb.
They don't want to be called deaf mute. They don't want to be called hearing impaired.
Okay.
Now, the correct terminology and recommended by the World Federation of the Deaf is deaf and hard of hearing. So deaf people are people who cannot hear and cannot talk.
Okay.
So hard of hearing are people who can talk but they cannot hear. So this is the difference. Hard of hearing are people who can talk but they cannot hear. So deaf people are people who cannot talk and cannot hear.
Okay.
But it's very okay to call deaf people. Deaf people, it's very okay to call them hard of hearing.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it's a debate. Sometimes they are like, hey, deaf the hash.
Yeah.
But if you talk to them, they're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that you made this
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
So when it comes to hard of hearing, is the ones that can speak.
Because, yeah,
and
but they have
cannot
difficulty in
hear.
understanding. Yeah, difficulty
and
in
then-
understanding. Yeah.
and then the deaf ones cannot hear and can't speak.
Yeah.
But it's the dumb that should not be
Should not
used
be,
at
or
all.
deaf mute or hearing impaired.
Okay.
They don't want to be called those names.
Okay, and the dumb as well.
Yeah, dumb.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't like that dumb. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess as people, we need to work on that. It's just deaf and hard of hearing, both are accepted. But I think dumb is too bad.
Yeah, it's too bad. So
Yeah,
it's
it's so discriminatory.
To them, it's like calling them as an animal.
Yes.
You're so stupid that
Yeah,
you think like
stuff
an
like
animal.
that. Yeah.
So even an animal wouldn't think like that. So that is a derogatory,
Yeah.
way of describing them. So they don't accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you call them dumb, or if you write to them, you send them an SMS text indicating that they're dumb.
Yeah.
If
It's a
they
bad
can
one.
do something to you, they will. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
But deaf people generally, they are very good people. They are
Okay.
very kind.
They're
Especially if you learn sign language.
Yeah, they
if you
love
understand
you.
basic sign language,
They love
deaf
you.
people tend to love you very well,
Yeah.
and then they will be visiting you and they will be inviting you to their programs.
Amazing.
Deaf people are very very nice
Okay.
people.
So talk to me about how difficult it was to actually transition from where we were as a country to where we are now. Because like I mentioned in the introduction, sign language interpretation wasn't taking place at a time. It's just now that all organizations want to make sure that this is actually happening. Was it a struggle? Was it a fight to actually reach here? How did we move away from that to where we are now?
It wasn't that easy. As you say, sign language is an emerging profession.
Yes.
We didn't have it before here. Before, we have it in the West, in Europe and America.
Yeah.
So in the Gambia, it's an emerging profession, and then it wasn't that easy.
Okay.
It wasn't easy to have people accept sign language interpreters, because at first some people will start saying, no, these people are saying the correct thing. But when you ask deaf person to proofread the interpreter,
Well,
it was realized that
Yeah.
definitely interpreters are saying the reality, and is a real profession that people need to accept and need to know its importance. That deaf people are symbiotic to sign language interpreters. We cannot live without deaf people, and deaf people cannot live without sign language interpreters. So we are symbiotic to each other. But it wasn't that easy, and then and the Deaf Association also really supported, the recognition of sign language interpreters, and to make people accept sign language interpreters is also a profession that people need to accept,
Yeah.
and then definitely is also urging on other government institutions to try employ sign language interpreters. And then by that, Gambia College started paying services of sign language interpreters.
Okay,
and
amazing.
GTTI employed one sign language interpreter.
Amazing.
CRC employed an interpreter. TRRC employed an interpreter. But it wasn't that easy in the beginning. And still now, we're having a difficulty of having people to accept us as a
language.
profession. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was that. But now, thank God, people are now changing now.
Yeah, the narrative
Seeing
is
people
changing.
like me on social media, advocating for information access to deaf people, trying to take sign language to another level. So I think now now we can see light at the end of the tunnel now.
Okay, so you talked about the fact that it's a profession. People out there who are watching might be like, Liban for some profession, Landa, is it paying the bills? Because sometimes when I bring people here, what I say is that when I ask you about your profession to actually encourage other young people to join you, I ask you, is it paying the bills? So that at least they will know the profession. If I venture into it, I'll be fine. Because sometimes there are just certain professions in the Gambia that people regard as odd, that odd. when it's not. Because man, I say this all the time. I tell people there are certain businesses that you call odd. Ñooñu upper halis. There are certain professions that you call odd. Ñooñu upper halis. Ñun mi hardware bude. You know. So talk to us about that as well.
Thank you very much. You know, even myself, when I started learning sign language interpreting, you know, some friends of mine, they said,
I'm silly.
What can you have from this? So this is not a profession, please. Why not you focus on what you were doing, ICT and other things? I told them, no, you know, this is a passion, and then I must go in for it. And then, mind you, sign language interpreting is very lucrative.
Really?
And then I can say, since I think 20, I stopped traveling. Since when I joined CRC, when I joined the Constitutional Review Commission, because CRC's work is like, working in
hectic.
The country and other things. It's like hectic, so I can't attend other international seminars, programs.
Yeah.
But every year, since when I became sign language interpreter in 2013, I travel every year. So traveling with deaf people, because the Deaf Association is also affiliated to many associations around the world. So when they go with sign language interpreters.
Exactly.
They go with like 2 interpreters.
Look
if
at
the
that.
workshop is going to be too tedious, so they'll go with 2 sign language interpreters. And then you go there, you pay allowances, and then you earn a lot of money. You also make friends there. After upon return back to the country,
you can still connect with those people.
You can still connect with those people. So and also
and now you have a stable job.
Now you have a stable job, and now that the government is now recognizing the importance of sign language, because in the draft constitution, for the first time in the history of the Gambia, sign language is mentioned in the constitution. The use of Gambian sign language is mentioned in the constitution. So if you go to section 58, subsection 1D of the constitution talks about the use of Gambian sign language and Braille. So this is the first time. This is the first time it's happening in the country. And also information access to deaf people also, to people with disabilities also. So the same section 58, subsection 1C talks about access to information. So who knows? Maybe the media house, institution like QTV, maybe in the future we like to employ sign language interpreter.
Exactly.
So definitely it's a lucrative.
It's a job. So don't come up with those ideas and
also, sign language interpreters earn a lot of money from UN office, and UN recognizes the importance of sign language interpreters and other institutions,
and
you get
paid.
And we get paid.
Exactly.
If you get to record short video, you pay money and other things. So this is something that
the profession is actually paying the bills. Just to make it clear, it's paying the bills. Maybe it's not a fortune, but it's a profession like any other profession. So I think that is quite clear. Like I said before, I had to ask that because in the Gambia here, they just see professions and just jump into conclusion like, this is such odd. It's so odd. This is something that I can't venture into. And
Gambians like to travel. So once you have a profession that you'll be traveling. So I think
they are
it's something good.
Gambians act to So now let's talk about females, because I don't see a lot of female interpreters. So I don't know what the problem is. What is the problem?
Yeah, definitely. This is something that we are looking into.
Yes.
We currently have only 1 female interpreter.
Wow.
That is Mansara Damfa. She is at Brikama.
Yeah.
So she's also one of our members. I forgot to say this. We have an association called ASLEJ, Association of Sign Language Interpreters, the Gambia.
Yes.
So we registered like 4 years ago, and then we have among us we have only 1 female interpreter, and that female interpreter is employed by the Ministry of Education. Region 2, Education Department Region 2. So they're paying her salary. She's stationed at Brikama area. She's staying there to provide interpreter service for deaf people around the suburb of Brikama, and also interpret for the deaf school. That is at the newly built deaf school at Brikama called Gado Brikama Deaf School. So currently now in the Greater area we have 2 deaf schools. We have one at St. John's here and the second one at Brikama.
So I think it's sad that we have only 1 female interpreter.
Definitely.
Because it's sad because sometimes females that are deaf can tend to relate, gender. I'm not saying that we should just be biased in a way, but sometimes you can relate to your own gender in a way. So I think it's very important that you guys encourage more females.
More females and more Christian interpreters as well. Because currently we have a project from the UK called ASLEJ, Association of Sign Language Interpreters. It comprises of interpreters from England, Wales, Scotland, and and then Ireland.
Yes.
So these interpreters, they provide us with a small project. The project is very good. It is paying the salary of sign language interpreters who are not employed. It's also paying is also paying for the production and research of sign language. Currently, the program that we undergoing at the office, it's been funded by the Ashley G project. It's not that big, but it's really paying. It's really helping.
So more Christian interpreters.
So now the same project is leading the training of sign language interpreters. So we want to train more. We want to recruit more sign language interpreters, and I'm the one coordinating that project. So right now we want to train more female interpreters and more Christian interpreters.
Exactly.
Because right now, I as a Muslim interpreter, sometimes I interpret at churches. Because we have deaf Christians as well.
Exactly.
So sometimes it's sad when you see deaf people, deaf Christians, wanted an interpreter at churches and they can't have access to it.
They can't.
While deaf Muslims are having access to interpreters at mosque. Because I interpret at mosque sometimes. So when deaf people request for interpreters at churches, so yeah, I do. Because I'm a Muslim.
Yeah, but
I'm a Muslim.
In a way also, it will be hard for you, sir, to interpret in churches because sometimes they're terminologists.
Yeah. So this is something that we also do.
Exactly.
As a sign language interpreter. Yes. We do something called PDP, Professional Development Plan, or CPD.
Yes.
Continuous Development Plan.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this is something that we work on some of our weak areas. We work with mentors in people who have been sign language interpreters for 35 years, for 30 years. I'm giving 2 mentors, one in Wales and one in Australia.
Yeah.
So they've been sign language interpreters for more than 30 years.
Amazing.
So sometimes some of these things, when I have difficulties in these areas, they give me recommendation.
Yes.
So what I do, some of these terminologies that I have in churches, I jot them down and I ask the meaning. So after break, so they will let me know some of the meaning,
so that
I can translate it easily.
Yeah, but I think the more females should come up, Christians as well.
Yeah,
like Lamin mentioned, it's a lucrative job, it's a profession, it pays the bills. So if you have interest in it, come on board and join. The more interpreters we have, the more inclusive we are as a society. So now let's go into the current pandemic. I know this is a question that a lot of people have to ask. A lot of people have to ask this question because we're in a global pandemic as we speak. And the key to fight against this pandemic is access to information, knowing what you're supposed to do. So what is your association doing in relation to the pandemic when it comes to deaf individuals?
Good. This is a very important question, and I think I've been expecting it.
Yes.
And then definitely, association has been writing to institutions, to at least, especially Ministry of Health, to include sign language interpreters, in the activities, in their daily updates.
Okay.
So this is something that I took it to myself. Even though it shouldn't be from me, it should be from the government, because government should take this responsibility, to provide information to its citizens, as a government. But what I do is, so every day I give updates on COVID-19, on some of the new cases, that the country registered, and also some of the recovered. And then, what I do every morning is I after reading a newspaper or listening to radios like U Radio, So what I do is I record myself in GSL. That's Gambian Sign Language.
Yeah.
The short name is GSL, Gambian Sign Language. I record myself in GSL and then put it on social media, on Facebook, and I also created 2 WhatsApp pages, WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So I after recording the videos, I put it on there. So I inform deaf people to be careful, to let them know some of the guidelines that WHO had asked people to do, and also in collaboration with Ministry of Health.
Yes.
So this, to inform them to observe social distancing, to be frequently washing their hands, and also to the wearing of face masks. So this is something that I've been doing to also inform them of some of the registered cases that the country had and some of the deaths that the country recorded.
Okay.
So but it's not that easy. I'm doing it to as my own responsibility, because I'm I'm a sign language interpreter.
Exactly.
I'm having access to the community.
Yes.
I'm having access to read and understand. And then not every deaf person can read and understand.
Exactly.
Some deaf people, yes, they've been to school, but not many of them
It's
can
a bit
read
difficult.
and understand.
I think
you
Binta
know.
Baji is the only
Yeah,
one that
Binta Baji
actually graduated
from the university. And then we can. So I took it to myself to make them understand what is happening in the country, to make deaf people know that information is key, that COVID-19 is real.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy because I'm using my own limited resources to do it. Even though government should be the one to do it.
To facilitate.
So and also the other thing is government also needed to put in some resources in the training of professional sign language interpreters, so that deaf people can access interpreters in any situation that they find themselves in, whether in a police station, courthouses,
Very right.
how to call it, hospitals,
Yes.
So that deaf people and universities as well.
Exactly.
So once we have good sign language interpreters, deaf people can be enrolled in university. They will have a good education system. With the curriculum that we're talking about. Once the curriculum comes in place, so teachers will be able to know Gambian sign language very well, and they will be teaching deaf people very good because the language that deaf people has is sign language.
Yes.
Sign language is something that deaf people has, and people has to understand that sign language is different from English language. That sign language that deaf people need to communicate. Deaf people always want to be communicating in sign language. So government really need to chip in, to support the training and the employment of sign language without deaf people paying it for themselves. Sometimes, when a deaf person at the Gambia College or other institutions, are pursuing higher education, they themselves pay for the service of interpreter.
Really?
So while the government should be the one to do it.
So
this is something that
I just hope the narrative will change.
Yeah, definitely.
With the coming of the new constitution.
Sure.
I just believe that things will change. But we will monitor and see what will actually happen. Due to time constraints, I just have maybe a few questions to go. I wish we had like 2 hours because we have a lot of things that we need to discuss. Personally, you have even helped when it comes to youth dialogue. I can remember Binta Baji came here twice. You came here, and Ibrahima also started to help us, but due to some few technical issues, we are unable to do that. But we are still working towards doing that because this is a youth dialogue. 60% of the Gambian population are young people, and in the 60%, we have young people who are deaf and need to listen to the things that we are discussing here in order to contribute to the national development. Somebody just asked a question. The person said that, your gestures are too much. So is it because that you are used to sign language to an extent that even when you're talking normally, you just have to do that?
Yeah. This is something that sometimes even friends at home, they say, but sometimes, we observe when you're talking, you sign. So what causes that? I say, because I'm used to signing, because every day, 24 hours, from morning to evening, sometimes before I got home, it's 8 p.m. in the evening. So, I'm always with deaf people, working for them, providing interpreter service for them, having family meetings for them, even after work. So they will call me or they will SMS text me, they will send SMS text to me and say, please, can you please come to my home and do this? Amazing. So I'm used to signing. I can say it's now part of me.
But I guess I'll also take it up to also learn few things. Because I think as a journalist or as professionals in different areas, we have to take it up ourselves. At some point, it will be normal, even when you're deaf. It's normal because the people around you accept you and are actually making efforts to learn what you can understand. So thank you so much. And I learned something. You said this is A, right?
A, yes.
Okay, this is A. Yes. And B is?
And B is this.
This. And I don't think it's that hard.
And the C.
C.
D.
Okay. D.
E.
E. Okay,
and
E
F.
is easy. And F. Okay.
And the GHIJKLMNOPQR.
Okay.
STUVWXYZ.
Z. Okay, so the Z is.
Yeah, this is Z.
This is Z. And it's just.
Yeah. And also, what also I need to inform people. Everyone has a sign name.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you come in contact with deaf people, even if you're a hearing person, you're Geneva, you want to learn sign language. The first day that you come into contact with deaf people, they will ask you to choose a sign name for yourself, or they will choose a sign name for you. So my sign name is Lamin.
Okay.
This is L. This is letter L. This is my initial L.
Yeah.
L.
Yeah.
So this is from here to here.
Okay.
That's my sign name.
Okay.
So every deaf person has a sign name.
Okay.
Every sign language interpreter has a sign name.
Okay.
Every hearing person that is working with deaf people or that
Has
is
a
learning sign language
okay.
has a sign name. So once you started learning sign language, maybe who knows, maybe Binta might choose a sign name for you.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone has a sign name.
Okay, so I don't have a sign name
No,
yet.
you don't have a sign name yet. But once you started learning sign language, you started interacting with deaf people,
Yeah.
they will choose a sign name for you.
They will choose for
yeah.
me.
So this is something that I want
That
to
is
let people know.
amazing.
Yeah. because they cannot hear when you call them.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you just have to sign them. So where is Adama?
Okay.
Now where is Lamin Sise?
Okay.
Or where is Bakari?
Okay.
So this is, and then this is Lamin, is unique to me.
Okay.
It's only me who is having this sign name.
it's just you.
So you can have another Lamin who is this.
Ooh.
You can have another Lamin who is this.
Okay.
That has this sign name.
Okay.
You can have another Lamin that has this sign name.
Okay.
Another Lamin. So this is
comes
unique to me.
different.
So even if you meet a deaf person and say, who is this person? They say,
Yeah.
no, sign language interpreter.
This is amazing.
it's amazing,
This
yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, really,
it's
really,
totally
really,
amazing.
really.
Thank you so much, Lamin, for what you do. I think when it comes to this month, it's the right person. You are our right
Thank you.
youth of the month.
Thank
Like I
you.
said
Thank
before,
you.
in as much as different nominations poured in, we just feel like you need to be recognized. As a television station, we need to recognize you because you're doing extremely well. Deaf people need to be inclusive, and it's
Definitely.
only when somebody stands up and say that this is what we need to do, then it will happen. So you can just give us your final words quickly, and we will get to wrap this up.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank QTV for being inclusive because QTV has been recognizing the importance of deaf people, and also, I can remember the starting of QTV. I was paid to do the interpreting at the QCity. So I was there to do the interpreting. So QTV really, is really doing a good job in trying to let people know the importance of sign language. Even the TRRC and also junior, you mentioned it. Ibrahim Cham has once been interpreting, at the Youth Dialogue.
Yes.
So we also want to thank the Deaf Association who has been really helping and has hosted the Sign Language Interpreter Association, and also we thank the St. John's School for the Deaf. We're working closely with them, and the also other deaf school that is at Brikama. So we really thank them for supporting interpreters, and then that is it. I'm urging on everyone to know that sign language interpreting is a profession, and that interpreters are needed in public institutions, to be employed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lamin. We really appreciate this. So viewers, this is all we have for you in this edition. But before I take a leave, just to remind you that we are on our different social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Go and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on our different social media platforms to get to know what we are up to. My social media handles are also in front of you. Take it, contact me, give me your recommendations and your comments. I will surely pen them down, if not even implement them. Till I come your way next week with other young people doing extremely well across the country. Stay tuned.